crisis happened and in Texas, and then Ted Cruz just left the country. This is exactly what you've been saying. He was basically on a holiday. And another thing that I picked up when you said you have the conversation with a professor and you say, interesting idea. So for me as a student, if that is my reality, if this is what I could answer to professors, not that I'm doing that, but different students might experience that they feel what's the value here. I think this is one of the benefits when we talk about it, a student network can have, to connect people to different kind of insights where they're not going to answer like interesting idea, but actually gain some value out of a discussion. What is your maybe view on that?
It's very interesting, and it comes down to pedagogy. It comes down to the science of teaching. I was going to go to Chris Bradley. Just your thing about doing your DSYRM, Doctor of Security Risk Management. Good for you, Chris. I mean, and I'd like to, happy to talk to you about that. Help you, give any support I can on that. Academia does give you a great foundation. Chris, I'm going to reverse that. I think experience gives you a great foundation. Often, what it does is it teaches you that yes, I was right. What I did was good, but it gives you a structure and a framework. I personally think that the experience is what gives you a foundation. And if you don't have the experience, then the academia it's like a scaffolding. It's got there, but it's empty. It's all air, basically. But those things come backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards. Marcus, just remind me, what was the question? I'm sure it was a good one. It was a good one. Do you remember?
Yes. I can rephrase it.
Pedagogy. No, got it. I've got
yes.
you. Right? The word was pedagogy. Because what happens is, traditionally and classically, if you go to university, you sit there, and somebody else who's older than you sits there, and they give you stuff, and you take notes, and their job is to transfer the information and the knowledge they have to you. I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. It's okay, if you're going to be an engineer, you need to know those things. If you're going to be a doctor, you need to know those things, and that's fine. But that is knowledge, and that's not even knowledge. That's transferring information. Knowledge has understanding behind it, and understanding has context, and it is integrative, and it is syncretic. It brings different parts together. And so it's like somebody who can cook, Ankita, we've discussed this, my wife is Indian. I spent many times in India. One of the differences between English food and Indian food is just the depth of the spices. English food is, something, and Indian food, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper into these spices and these flavors. And that is what good pedagogic learning and teaching is about. So university should not be about transfer of information only. It should be a development of understanding and insight. And to a certain extent, you then add life experience and you create wisdom, which is later on, another later stage. But to do that, you've got to play around with it. You've got to explore it. You've got to have a go with it. You've got to try things out, and you've got to have that space to experiment and to make mistakes and to work things out. You can't be worried about failing. If you're worried about failing, then you just do only things that you know. And I think that we had this conversation, as you know, we had this roundtable, our academic roundtable, with 3 of the leading academic people in the world. Anybody who's done academic work around security and risk management will know Patrick Lagardère. And if you don't, then you should. And it's in our library. He's in our library. We're going to have a look. But we had Patrick Lagardère, who is the leading conceptualist on hyper-complex risk, non-rational risk, inconceivable risk. We had Dr. David Alexander from University College London, Institute of Disaster and Risk Reduction. And we had Dr. Stephen Flynn, Executive Director of the Global Resilience Institute at Northeastern University in Boston. It's on our website. For everybody listening, if you haven't heard that, go there. It's free to access. It's on the website. We have an ebook. Oh my God, that was a fascinating conversation. But one of the things that one of the things that somebody said is, are students today able to adapt to the needs of the new learning? And I said, man, that's the wrong question. Are universities able to adapt to the needs of the new learning? Because most universities, basically, they haven't much changed from the Greeks 2,500 years ago. You know, and there's a teacher, whatever you call them, and there's students, and they impart knowledge. Often, you know, when we had the first European universities, which is in the 13 and the 1400s, and some of those are still around. But my feeling is that the idea of imparting knowledge is going to change. I think that, you know, the idea that you fly 3,000 miles and you get a room and you stay there for 3 years, and there's a teacher up there with 20 or 30 people in this room, and that's how you teach. It seems to me that is, it's not even 20th century, it's 19th century pedagogy. So I think that this sort of forum, this discussion forum, is like an incubation thing, you know, it's like a Petri dish. You put something down there and mold, you know, we say mold, we use the word, you know, mold grows. Mold, of course, is a virus. But it's incredibly successful at developing new forms of life appropriate to its environment. Please, Marcus, yeah, I'd very, very much like to open the conversation up. So, I mean, feel free, anybody who wants to come into this conversation, feel free to come in, would be good to see you.